Steve Bone joins. We're excited because this time last week he made a very radical prediction about his starting 11 against Norwich, which included Bursic, Dio, Boat, Blair. Are you sticking with it, Steve? Hello.
Yes, I am. Yes, hello, by the way. I still think we should... The thinking was we should rest all our key players who we want to be at their best and at their fittest and at their freshest against Oxford on Easter Monday, because that is where we need to get 3 points from, and that is where we can get 3 points from and have to get 3 points from. No two ways about it. Whereas Norwich away on Good Friday, we will be lucky to get anything, even if we play our strongest team. So give a few an extra bit of rest. I know some of them have had quite a nice couple of weeks off anyway. Well, not weeks off, but they've had no game for... It will be 13 days by the time we come round to play Norwich. I just think that's the way to go. Play the fringe players. They've all got something to prove, so they might have an extra 5 yards. Might take Norwich by surprise a little bit. So you're not necessarily saying this is the team to play Norwich, we're going to lose. You're saying we don't mind if we lose. This is the team to play Norwich. If we somehow get a 3-3 draw or something mad, great. But you've then got all your best players to call upon for the absolutely critical game Monday lunchtime at home to Oxford. That is my thinking.
Now, John Messino has come out and said that it's far too early to start thinking about the Oxford game, but unlike a professional journalist such as yourself, he sometimes tells lies.
He pulls the wool over our eyes, doesn't he? That's the better way to put it. But yeah, I'm sure. I mean, there were times last season where he clearly, with his selection in an away game, you could tell he had one eye or even two eyes on the following game at home, because he was resting one or two. There were times where Matt Ritchie got a rest, or I think even Bishop and Pack and people like that were sometimes not used in an away game because he wanted to play strongest team at home. He then often did that, and generally that worked. We had some good home results last season after some not so good away results, so it worked. And he will have looked at the Oxford game. Of course he will. He'll have studied Oxford and worked out their threats and strengths and weaknesses, and I'm sure he will have given thought to who he wants to be playing against Oxford, and therefore who he's going to pick at Norwich. I don't think he will go anything like as weak as I think he should, but there might be one or two left out, and certainly if there's anyone who's got a little doubt over them with injuries, I don't think any of them will play at Norwich. We've got one or two coming back to fitness, haven't we? Sounds like Ibu Adams is not going to be around for the next 3 or 4 games, which is a big blow. So he's not got too much wriggle room, not got too many different people he can rest, but I still think he might rest one or two.
Yeah, one eminent local journalist, I think it might be Jordan Cross, it might be Neil Allen, I think it's Jordan, whose work we admire enormously, has come out and picked a team with Terry Devlin playing alongside Marlon Pack in midfield.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think we've said on here once or twice, haven't we? We'd like to see how that works. I mean, if you haven't got Adams, you still haven't got Dazelle quite yet. Swift alongside Pack hasn't worked generally. LaRue, I don't think Messino rates highly enough to give him a start in an important game, so Devlin could be the one. He's played everywhere else pretty much, hasn't he? I don't think he's played on the left wing yet, but he's played at right back, he's played in the number 10, he's played further forward. I think he'd be quite good in midfield because he's tenacious sort of player. He's a little terrier, isn't he? He'd be darting around, wouldn't let the opposition have any time on the ball in that midfield area. Be looking to win the tackles and be looking to, knowing him, he'd be looking to get the ball if he's in a deep midfield position, get the ball off the defence and get charging forward himself. So yeah, the only thing with him is, of course, he's been away with Northern Ireland, and I think he played both games for them, didn't he, in the break?
He got a run out twice, yes.
Yeah, I don't know if he played. I don't know how many minutes he played in total, but I just wonder. He would certainly, for me, be one of the people I wouldn't be playing at Norwich. I'd be giving him a little extra rest after his international and his travelling, and I'd be bringing him out against Oxford and telling him to go and get stuck into them early on. But Devlin in midfield got no qualms about the idea of it. Like to see it at some point, and we're not overdone with possibilities there, are we? So perhaps we'll see that.
Ever since it blew up, we've been looking forward to getting your take on this controversy about Michael O'Neill being manager of Northern Ireland, manager of Blackburn, isn't it? And playing 3 Oxford United players in a meaningless friendly game against Wales, and Oxford, it appears, taking issue with the fact that they're competing against Blackburn for a relegation place, and they don't like the idea of their players being wasted.
Yeah. We like a bit of intrigue, don't we? And this is intriguing. I must admit, it hadn't occurred to me until this story came out a few days ago that there could be a conflict of interest. But when you look at what Oxford have apparently sort of been saying and just questioning, then you can see it. He's the manager of Blackburn. He's also the manager of Northern Ireland. He's not the first to manage club and country. There's no rules against it, and there's no reason why some people shouldn't do it. I think Terry Venables did it. Didn't Terry Venables manage Australia at the same time he was our head coach back in the 90s? I think he did for a little while.
I think you're right.
Nobody complained then. And we ended up with half the Australian team in our team, and most of them weren't very good. But anyway, sorry, going off a tangent. No reason why he shouldn't be manager of a club and a country. But if other clubs who are around the club that you're managing are then starting to look at how you're using their players in games where they maybe don't think they should be used, then you've got an issue. As John Messino said when he was asked about it, the fact that somebody's asking me about it means there is an issue. It means we need to have a look at it. I don't think there's been any suggestion that Michael O'Neill has broken any rules or anything like that, or there's been no sort of question of his integrity. But if you are, if you're the manager of Oxford and you're seeing your players used to all intents and purposes by the manager of Blackburn, when you perhaps don't want them to be used, you want to keep them, or you want to make sure they're 100% fit for your last 6 or 7 games, then I can see, you can see why people are starting to question it and look at whether the rules should be changed. Because I think the suggestion has been that there have been some players who are sort of up against Blackburn in the relegation battle, who have been playing for Northern Ireland, and there have been others who have been released from the squad or who haven't been selected, who are sort of on the other side of the fence in terms of those clubs who are battling to stay up. So it might be people putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with 7, but there could be something to it, couldn't there? It'd be interesting to see. I don't think Michael O'Neill has said anything about it. He must have been asked about it, but I haven't seen what he's had to say. I'm sure he'll defend himself when he's asked about it. But yeah, I mean, from Pompey's point of view, it seems that Terry Devlin, for all the sort of exertion he might have had with Northern Ireland, he's come back fit, I think. So that's something. And it can work both ways, can't it? Because a player that's gone away and had a couple of games for his country might come back with an extra spring in his step. Might be sort of have his confidence lifted by that. It was Devlin's, he's quite inexperienced in terms of being an international. So hopefully it will have given him a lift at a time when his form hasn't been at its best, has it? Had a couple of poorer games for us, I thought, before the break. So, these things can work in different ways, but it'll be interesting to see if the league and the FA come back and say they're going to look into it or are going to do anything about it.
Sorry, I thought about six questions that I wanted to ask you whilst you were explaining your position on that. Take the first one first. Another opportunity for John Messino to demonstrate the corporate lawyer in himself, because his response to it has been beautifully political and diplomatic. He's saying that Michael O'Neill is a man of integrity, who he respects and he likes very much. And if anything, he said, the EFL may not have subjected the request that he manage two sides with sufficient scrutiny.
Yes, yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? John Messino is always very fair and balanced in his answers, isn't he, to everything, whether he's being asked about a 6-1 defeat 5 minutes after it's just finished, or whether he's talking about something more complicated like this. Yes, it could be one of those things that, you know, now we've got the benefit of hindsight. People can go back and say, actually, well, you know, why was this person allowed to do this? You know, why was somebody allowed to take two jobs where you're talking about an overlap of players? You know, players that could be relevant to that country and that club. He's got a keen eye for these things, our manager, I think, and I don't think he'll, you know, he's very much one. He'll stick up for himself and his players and the club, I think, where he needs to. You know, he's shown that number of times. He'll speak up for us. So I think if there is an issue here that's going to be looked at further, you know, I think John Messino will be wanting to know, you know, wanting to be involved in that in a way, and wanting to have his say, and his input into it, which is good.
It's been a quiet week for news, don't we know it? But something trickled into the studio on the studio PC a few moments ago. It may be an old story. It may be 24 hours old. You may have seen it, you may not. It hasn't caused any waves or ructions yet, but it's interesting. And what it is the from the period February 2025 to February 2026, they've published the agents' fees paid to agents by all the championship clubs. And guess where we are on that league table?
We're 22nd or 23rd, I think, aren't we?
You've seen it? Yes, we are.
I haven't seen the detail of it, but I've seen that we are very well down it. And I believe, am I right in thinking Ipswich are way out in front?
11.9 million.
It's incredible, isn't it?
In agent fees alone.
I know, yeah. And that's a club who are now in the division of the same division as us, and we're supposed to be competing with.
Yeah.
And we're playing them in a couple of weeks' time as well. I mean, Pompey fans would love £11.9 million
to spend on players.
Transfer fees over 5 years, wouldn't they? Let alone agents' fees in 1 year. Whenever this list comes out, and I think the FA put it out annually now, don't they? Just for transparency's sake, they like to show. They know that people want to know, so they put out the sort of league table of who spent what on agents' fees. The first thought I always have is, I wish I'd become a football agent.
Yeah.
Because they do rather well, don't they? I don't know how many agents there are. There must be hundreds of them now. You know, the numbers must multiply every year. But they seem to do very well out of these deals. And I don't know enough about what they do to say how on earth can they earn that money, or yes, they deserve it, because they're clearly players use agents and need agents and are happy for agents to take cuts of deals. You know, and clubs, nobody is forcing clubs to sort of pay this much to agents, so in a way the clubs must be sort of comfortable with it as well, I suppose. I think Chelsea are the top spenders in the top division, aren't they, on agents?
Yep.
Which doesn't surprise you, the amount of buying and selling that they do, and loaning out and everything else. But it's eye-watering, isn't it? And it is. It does need looking at, because, you know, we're seeing more and more clubs getting into financial problems, not being sustainable, being reliant on owners to put big sums in as loans or equity. You know, it's an issue at Pompey in terms of being, you know, fans are starting to look at what our owners are putting in and what form they're putting the money in. You know, and the money we're spending is a fraction of what a lot of teams are spending. So, if a fair chunk of that is going to agents, then surely at some point there's got to be a conversation about whether that's right and how to reduce it and how to reverse it a bit.
Yeah, so you ask a good question. What is it they actually do apart from negotiate a contract? And I've had a few brushes with sort of show business or broadcasting agents down the years, and generally speaking, they say, we don't do anything. We're not going to pick up the phone and talk to you even. You look after your own career. But when it comes to renewing your contract, that's when we're going to earn our money.
Yeah, which is fair enough. They must have a certain expertise in terms of the small print of contracts, mustn't they? I guess players, generally speaking, don't want to. They don't. Probably most players would not trust themselves to know when reading a contract what to look out for. You know, you don't unless you know a bit about employment law and everything else. You're not really going to know if there is a bit of small print in that contract that is going to cause you a problem later down the line. So if agents are experts in that, then yeah, that's a big thing. That's one good reason why a player would use an agent. And it's the negotiating skills as well that agents must have and must develop over time. A player that has a good spell in the Premier League, for example, or Championship, if you want to use Pompey's division as an example, is gonna, if other clubs know his contract is coming to an end, he's going to be in demand, isn't he? And that is where the player himself might not have time to go around speaking to these different clubs and hearing what they have to offer, and that's where he can lean on his agent and say, right, tell me who wants me, tell me what they're offering, tell me who you think's the best one and who's the worst one and which ones I should avoid, and go from there. So yeah, you can see why agents are there and why they earn a fair chunk of money, but it does seem a little bit out of control, doesn't it? The fees have spiralled, and I wonder if football as an industry, as a sport, is happy with that.
Yeah, well said. Let's get you back on the pitch. How proportionate or disproportionate is the hype that without Iboe Adams we're scuppered?
I think that's a bit over the top. I think he's done well since he came in. I thought when for the first month he was here, he did very well. Since then, I think he's tailed off a little bit. I don't think he's been quite as effective in the last 3 or 4 games, possibly because he maybe had a little niggle. I don't know. Maybe this knee injury that is going to keep him out. I think it's his MCL he's done something to, isn't it? So maybe that's been a factor in that. He's important, and if he's fit, he's on your team sheet, isn't he? He's one of the first on there. But that's not to say we can't cope without him. We weren't in the relegation zone before he came, just like we're not in the relegation zone now. People forget this. There's a lot of people saying, "Oh, Pompey are down, Pompey are doomed," and actually we're not even in the bottom 3, which I find a funny sort of outlook, really. So Adams, yeah, big loss, but he's one player doesn't make a team. I've seen some suggestion, can't remember where it was now, that he's one of the favourites to be player of the season, which surprised me a little bit. He's only played 13 games. I can see why people might vote for him, but I'd be surprised if he actually wins it. Having played half a season, that would be quite an achievement, wouldn't it? So important player. He's shown that he can score a goal or two. Don't think we'll be seeing him in the number 10 role like we saw him at QPR when he does come back. But I hope he's back for the last few games. But we're not going to suddenly collapse and lose every game 6-0 because he's on the sidelines.
No. I gather he's up against 2 of our key goal scorers for the Player of the Year in Terry Devlin and Zach Swanson.
Yes, our goal aces from our fullback goal aces. Yeah, I mean Devlin and Swanson would be two of the front runners for that award, I would think. I think Regan Poole has been very consistent and should be in the, as they say, in the conversation as well. There's probably not too many other players. I mean, some people might put Schmidt in the little group of people who are worth a thought. Conor Ogilvie, even though he missed a chunk in the middle of the season,
What?
has done well before and since his injury.
Hang on. Let's have that argument, sure. I'm going to have an argument with you. I'm going to risk it, okay? I think Conor Ogilvie, head and shoulders above everybody else with what he's achieved this season, playing as a centre-back, out of position, being brilliant, coming back from a nasty injury. Of course, he's our senior player. He's played more times for Pompey than anybody else. Currently wearing the old blue shirt. He's got to get it.
Well, he's a contender. I don't think he will get it, because there's not many people. I hear what you're saying. I don't disagree with sort of anything you've said, but I don't hear many people putting him forward and saying he's a dead cert for that prize this year. And I don't know why. That might be a bit harsh on him, really. A lot of what he does is a possible reason why. A lot of what he does goes unnoticed. He does the dirty work. He does the clearing up. He's solid without being spectacular. You don't get drag backs and fancy flicks from him, do you? He gets his head on the ball or his foot on the ball and he clears it, or he finds the man outside him or up ahead of him. I do think we're a better balanced team with him at left back rather than in the middle, although he did perfectly well when he needed to play in the middle. Can't knock him there. Don't think he's been individually responsible for any goals we've let in, certainly not anything that I can think of. He was out for some time, wasn't he? He's missed what, 2 months, was it 2.5 months?
I think about that, yeah.
With the injury that he picked up against Wrexham. So maybe if he hadn't been out for that time, maybe he would be more people's favourite for the award. But I can tell you're going to send in 10 votes for him, so I'll give him a chance. Don't think he'll win it. I think he might win one or two. He might win the sort of Scottish Supporters Clubs award, or the Midlands Blues, or whatever they're called. He might win one or two of those, but I don't think he'll win the main prizes. But having said that, I don't know. I genuinely don't know who will. I don't think Adams will either. Coming back to him being put up for those prizes, I might be wrong. I think a Devlin or a Swanson is probably more likely. And if it was being awarded on Monday, at the next game on Monday, I'd say probably Devlin might be favourite to get it.
Yeah, I mean, he's gone from park football in Northern Ireland, no offence to, was it Glentoran? I can't remember, I should know, but to playing away against Italy in a World Cup match.
Yeah, it's been a quick rise, really, hasn't it? I know he's been with us, he's in his 3rd season with us now, but still quite young. Been a quick rise. He's just imposed himself on the squad and then on the team, hasn't he? He's made himself very difficult to drop. Made himself a bit of a fan favourite, a bit of a cult hero. People like his style, they like his energy. He scored some goals. He got a couple of, he won us the game at Charlton with a couple of long range ones. Second top scorer, isn't he, behind Segacic, I think. So yeah, he's done everything right. The worry will be if we don't stay up at the end of the season, will he move on? Quite possibly will. Let's park it there. Although we'll just get one thought past you, if I may. Marlon Pack has been an absolute Trojan this season for a 30 man turning 35. He's been playing back-to-back 98 minutes now for about 3 months. He must have several Weetabix for breakfast. and lunch and tea, I would think. Yeah. Yes. I think John Messino was quoted after the QPR game, actually, when he wasn't really being asked about too many sort of positives after that game, but he was asked about Pack, and although not many people would have had Pack in our first choice 11 at the start of the season, and you might say that Pack hasn't got much competition in terms of other fit midfielders at the moment, the manager was very quick to say that he is in there on merit at the moment. He still brings a lot to the team. He's not as quick as he was, but he was never quick. He wasn't in there for his pace. It's his control and his cool head, and his composure on the ball, really, isn't it, that he's in there for? And I think he's continued to show all those qualities very well this season. beyond this season, who knows? He's certainly going to be there, and I still think he's going to be. I think longer term, you're looking at some sort of role for him, coaching role. He's quite keen on that side of things. I think developing that side of his knowledge and his game. But I think we'll still see him in the playing squad next season, whichever division we're in. He might not be a regular. He might not be captain, although you wouldn't put that past him either. I still think we'll get 20-25 games out of him next season. He still strikes me as looking pretty fit, as fit as he did when he came back here in 2022. So yeah, he's had a good year. Maybe he should be player of the season. I don't think he will be, but some will vote for him.
Let me get your thoughts on a couple of players. Names, Waddingham first of all. The Aussie is apparently almost match fit. And also, what your thoughts about Dio? Because I read in a place that he's got ahead of Bauer and Matthews already in the number 5 pecking order.
Right, that's interesting. Waddingham first of all. Kind of forgotten about him a little bit, haven't we? He's been out for so long. I think it was middle of last season. It was January of last season when he just got his way into the team. He came on at West Brom and got a nice poacher's goal there, didn't he? Played a couple of other games and then started to get some injury problems and started to fall out of favour again. And we've not really seen him since then. But I think at the moment we're so short of goals, and particularly short of goals from a centre forward, just hasn't worked for any of them, that people are probably sort of pinning more hopes on Waddingham coming back in for the last 6 games, whether he starts a couple or he's on the bench or whatever. People are pinning more hopes on that than they would be otherwise. I think if Bishop was scoring, if Bishop had 10 goals this season, people wouldn't blink an eye at the fact that Waddingham was fit again, because you wouldn't need him. You might put him on the bench for a few games, but you wouldn't be expecting him to take Bishop's place or anything like that. But as it is, because we're so short of goals, people are thinking, I wonder if he could be the missing link. He could be the man to poke in a couple of alley crosses or balls in by Gus. But you sort of cling to anything, don't you, when you're desperate for goals?
Well, this question's just jumped into my mind, so I'll try it from nowhere. Have you at any point over the last few months regretted or rued the fact that Callum Lang got homesick for the Mersey?
Yes, because I think we were a better team with him in it. And I remember when he made his comeback, he was injured early season, wasn't he? And then he came back against Millwall. I think he came on at half time against Millwall, did he? And he was all over the place, and he would set up a goal or set up a couple of chances, nearly scored himself. And I remember leaving that game and saying to my friend John, if Callum Lang stays fit, we'll be absolutely fine this season. And then of course he didn't stay fit, and B, he then decided he wanted to move on. And I think, given that he wanted to move on, I still think Pompey were probably right to sell him. I think if he hadn't wanted to go, I think we should absolutely have kept him and wrapped him up in cotton wool and got him fit again and got him out there, because in terms of our goal threat, we are not the same as a squad and as a team without Callum Lang, and it's Murphy as well. I mean, Murphy is as big a miss, isn't he? I think, as Lang. Not so much for his goal scoring, but just for his supply line from the left. So many assists and so many good balls in, you're going to get from him, whoever he's up against on that side. So we've, to have to sell Lang and then lose Murphy to injury. I think that's a big reason why the goals have dried up as they have. I know we had a couple of the away games, Charlton Millwall, where we looked as though we were over that, but it's dried up again since then. Various reasons for it, and we just need a way out of it pretty quick.
Well, go on.
Sorry, to take your second. There was a part B to your question as well, wasn't there, about Jojo DR being ahead of others? I haven't. I don't think I have personally seen enough of him to judge. I thought in the home game he played, and I can't now remember whether he played against Derby or Swansea, the other under the lights the other week. He played one of those 2 games, didn't he? I thought he looked okay, but he was in a team that was playing rather nervously and didn't look at their best, and there were one or two moments where he looked a bit nervous as well. But I think he's got something about him, and I think with a run of games, which I don't think will come now, I don't think he'll get that many starts between now and the end of this season. So I think we might have to wait till next season. Hopefully he's still around with us, and we could have a very good defender there on our hands.
Now, another question jumps into my head whilst I'm listening to you. Could you pick a nice, potentially very successful League One side from the squad we've got at the moment?
Yes, I mean, let's hope we don't have to, because I still think we're going to stay up. But if the worst happened,
with Jojo, for example, and Waddingham and Farrell.
Yes, don't know about Waddingham and Farrell. They might be good in League One, but so far they've been a little bit fragile, haven't they, in terms of how much they've played and how much they've been injured. Sorry, you've woken the dogs up again now. I think if you look at the 25-man squad, I think you've got if you were back down in League One, I think you've got the nucleus of a squad that would be good enough to have a good go at going back up. I still think you'd need to add to it, and I think you need to look at the goal situation, and you probably need to start again in terms of trying to find that 20-goal striker, because that's what we've missed this season. I read that somewhere, I think Neil Allen did a piece saying that if Segacic ends up as our top scorer with less than 10 goals, it will only be the 5th time in 127 seasons where our top scorer has not made double figures. And I think if we end up with a top scorer with 6 or 7, that could be our lowest top scorer ever. So that shows you where the problem is, doesn't it? We haven't had, ideally you want somebody to score 20 and a couple of others to weigh in with 10 or 12, and that's what we haven't had. So that would be an area to look at, whichever division we're in, I think, in the summer. But I think you've got a pretty good League One squad already, I think. But you would, they won't all stay. So, some of them will go if we go down, and you will need to bring others in as well. Lots of toing and froing ahead, whatever happens, I think, in the summer.
Right, well, Steve, in spite of all the uncertainties surrounding the fixture, I'm going to ask you for your prediction and maybe a little bit of a profile on how you see the game turning out at Norwich.
I'm afraid I'm going to stick to. It seems a bit gloomy. You look at Norwich's form, the current form table. If you go back over the past 10 games for a current form table, Norwich have taken 21 points from their past 10, and we have taken 7 points. I just think it's too. They've got home advantage as well. They're 10th, but they're not going to. They're very, very, very unlikely to get in the playoffs. They're a little bit too far off to do that. But they're 10th. They're moving up. They were 18th, 19th not that long ago. Just think they're going to be a bit too strong for us. We've got the QPR game behind us. I think we'll be much more solid and harder to beat than we were at QPR. But I still think we're going to lose. I'm going to say 3-1 at Norwich. But I do think, because we won't speak again before Monday, I do think we're going to turn that round and get everything firing, and we're going to beat Oxford quite convincingly.
Steve, as ever, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope you're right and wrong. You know which one.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
Me too, in a way.
All right. Talk soon.
Okay, look forward to it.